Welcome back to the portion about parabolas, which are these U-shaped graphs here, and they go by this function f of x equals x squared, or we can switch it to y equals x squared. Since it's a function, we're allowed to switch y and f of x. Now, if you notice here in our window, we're about from -3 to 3 on our x-axis, and about -1.5 to 1. And remember, we can always click on the home screen and it will default our zoom. And we want to try to keep our zoom at this area for our project so we don't get messed up and we don't have any different size things. It's just going to make our life easier. So let's always try to keep it at our default zoom when we're working on our project. All right, so to start off here with our parabolas, same thing, we're allowed to turn them off and on. And we could click on the gears and we could change the colors. So we'll go this time with purple for parabolas. And again, dashed lines, dotted lines, anything we would like there. Okay? So let's get with the some of the features of parabolas. We can still restrict our domains by using that inequality. So say we want from this portion here up to this portion here. So we want in between -1 and 2. So we can type our inequality, -1 is less than x is less than 2. And as you can see, we get the portion that we wanted originally, okay? And if we don't want that, we can just take it back to y equals x squared, okay? Okay, cool. Now, suppose we would like to move our parabola so it's not centered here with our vertex of 0, 0. Maybe we want this vertex, this very curvy bottom part here, to be over here or over here. Okay, here's how we would do that. So pay attention here to my cursor on the left. We are going to first put parentheses around this, and we are going to subtract the x value that we want to move it to. So here, as you can see, it was at 0, 0. Now it's at 3, 0 because here we subtracted 3. Okay, so let's practice some of that. If we want to move it to x equals 5, right there. If we want to move it to x equals -1, well, -1. There it is. And of course, we know that when we have a minus, that is really just like adding. So there we go, x plus 1. Now imagine we want to move it to x equals -9. Well, we can add 9 and boom. Okay, so let's practice some more. X minus 6, x minus 5, x minus 2, x plus 7. Boom. Okay, so as you can see, we can move our parabolas from left to right. And now here is how we can move our parabola up and down. We are going to just add the number that we want to move it. So we moved it up 3 spaces. We can move it up 4 spaces, 5 spaces, 1 space. We can move it down by subtracting, down 2 spaces, down 3 spaces, down 4 spaces, down 1 space. There we go. So to sum up, we can move it up or down by adding any number or by subtracting any number, and that moves it up or down. In combining those two horizontal and vertical shifts, we can create some kind of a template that looks like this. And now if I want to move it over here to x equals -3, well, that's what I would do. And if I want to move it up here to 4, I would do it right there. So as you can see, our vertex, -3, 4, are exactly the two numbers here in our equation. Okay? So keep this in mind, and we can move it really anywhere we want in our window. So here it is at x equals -1. Here it is at x equals 4, 4, and y equals 4 because of that. And we can move it down, down. We can move it down below the x-axis like that. So we have all the power in the world with these two numbers here, which you can change to match wherever you want this vertex here to be. And of course, we can restrict our domains by using our curly brackets over here. So if we want now from this area to this area here, well, that would be from x equals 3 to x equals 6. So 3 is less than x is less than 6. Okay, so your domain restriction changes as you move your parabolas from left to right. So be very, very careful about that. Okay, so if we want from here to here, we look at from x equals 3 to x equals 6 from here. Okay, and again, please pause the video and go back and watch the video over and over again as many times as you need. And also, I'm always available for questions through email. Okay. Okay, here we are, guys, back at our original function, y equals x squared, our normal parabola. And suppose we would like to make this parabola open up more, like make it wider, or make it skinnier, narrower, so it's kind of more, closed. Okay, here's how we would do that. We would like to change our coefficient of x squared like so. So now see how it's a little bit skinnier and even more skinny, okay? So that number that we multiply by in the front determines how skinny our parabola will be, okay? As you see, as I get larger and larger, it gets skinnier and skinnier. So that being said, to make it wider, to open up more, we would want to multiply by fractions or decimals, like 0.5 or 0.25 or 0.1. See how it gets wider and wider and wider? Okay, there we go. And we can keep on going like so. There we have it. That's how we get wider and narrower, by changing the coefficients of our x squared. Okay? The final piece to parabolas is if we wanted to flip it so the parabola is facing down instead of facing up, we could use a negative to do that. So if we make our leading coefficient of x squared negative, it has the effect of flipping it, aka reflecting it, over the x-axis. Okay? So we're reflecting, and of course if we want to make it reflected and narrower, we change that coefficient. So as you can see, narrow, okay? We're getting narrow. And if you want to make it a little more wide, we multiply that bad boy by a decimal. All right, so let's combine all of that knowledge of moving our parabolas, shifting it to the left and right, shifting it up and down, making it narrow, making it wide, and reflecting it, okay? So here we have a parabola that's been shifted to the left 6, as you can see here, because it's being added in our parentheses, and been shifted 2 units down. So here's our vertex, -6, -2, and of course you can move it wherever you want by changing the number that we're adding and subtracting, like so, okay? All right, and of course you can move it more down if you want to, or you can add it and move it up, okay? So let's, for ease, let's put it at this point here, which is a 0.51, indicated by this -5 and this +1 here. Okay, we can still make it narrow, and we can still reflect it, which means we can also make it nice and wide, like so, okay? So all of those things can apply in one, and of course we can always restrict our domain now. So if we want it from -3 to maybe 6, 7, we can go like this, -3 less than x less than 7. And we only get this portion of our line. Oops, I meant to say +3. There you go, okay? But of course that domain changes. We can do whatever we would like. We can even input decimals in order to restrict our domain to the exact number that we want, okay? If you have any questions, again, please feel free to email me, and be sure to pause and rewatch the portions of this video so you have a full understanding. And we'll see you next time.